Well, we're happy to see you today. Deanna, my colleague, and I are thrilled to bring you another episode of Continence Chat. And this is where we endeavor to make uncomfortable conversations comfortable. And today we have a very special guest with us. He is the professional with the biggest smile that you'll ever meet at CFS Medical in the city of Torrance, California. So we want to welcome Silas Slaughter. And we're happy to have you today. Please share with us some of your stories and maybe a little bit about your store and your background. We're happy to hear your story.
Yeah, so thank you guys for having me here. It's really good, just showing how you guys really appreciate, you guys us to allow you guys to push our product. So pretty much a little bit about me. So pretty much CFS Medical Supplies Equipment. We are a DMV company located in the city of Torrance, California, Southern California specifically. And we pretty much focus on a lot of innovative equipment. So a lot of, of course, like Seni's the innovative incontinence output in that premium quality level, right? So we pretty much only push Seni when it comes to incontinence because we just see that it's such a huge, it's so consistent and the product pretty much speaks for itself. But for my background, so I just graduated college and, CFS is a family owned company. So it just, Tara, which is my mom, and then my dad, who unfortunately he passed away in 2021. So pretty much it, so now it's just me and my mom pretty much, keeping basically it's a two-man army, right? Just keeping the thing going. We started in the year 2019. So I was in college at the time. So it was a lot of in and out, but I did see like, wow, like, and I didn't really even know about DME, right? I know my parents had a company in Moreno Valley when I was little, right? When I was like a baby, they had this, and then they closed that down in the Moreno Valley, and then they kind of reopened, 20 years later, they reopened in 2019 to restart everything, right? So I started to really get passionate about this company, mainly because I started to see like how we were really helping people, how I was like, wow, like these products is actually helping somebody, right? A lot of times, of course, there's companies that, it's like for profit and everything like that. But we see a lot of is that the loss of customer service, right? So for us, our main goal is to not just sell your product, but actually sell you a solution, really solve the problem, right? And then try to come up with products that can help solve that problem. So that's one thing that I started to get really focused on with this company. And then pretty much from that point on, I've been, pretty much locked in into, helping, becoming that bridge to help, between the problem and then also the solution. Like there was one case recently where we were delivering a hospital bed. And in the hospital, when we did the hospital bed delivery, we saw that like the client, they had like a stack of incontinence products, like almost to the ceiling. Like it was as tall as I was. I'm 5'11", and it was stacked up high. And I was like, well, they're using all these products. So we knew about Seni. At this point, we were already pushing Seni. We knew that Seni could have been a great solution for them. So we said we had some samples, because when we do these deliveries, we start seeing other things, right? Because obviously for us, we're not able to have this long conversation with the client on the phone. But then once we're able to kind of see what the landscape is, when we're doing the delivery, where we start asking questions like, oh, wow, well, because for us, once again, going back to being a solution to help solve problems, to help save them time and money in the future, we was like, okay, well, we know we do have a product that can help solve your issue where you don't have to have this stack of, incontinence products that you're just going through within days or weeks. I mean, it's one thing, like if you have a stack like that and it's, oh, well, I haven't, but it's lasting me about, 4 to 6 months, right? But that wasn't the case. The client was saying, no, like the caregiver is up all night and she's changing him all night, over and over all night. So he wasn't getting sleep, and the caregiver definitely wasn't getting sleep. So that's what we had. We made sure to have Seni samples. We had it in the van, right? So we gave it to him. Said, look, try this out. See if it works, right? Because we always say, like, we don't want to sell them. We just say, look, we're so confident in the product and we have this track record of this being so consistent that we say, look, try this out, see how it works, right? And let us know, because we're always looking for feedback. I kid you not, literally a week later, she contacted back, I need a whole case of them. I need multiple cases. Wait, you sure you just don't want to go with just one, start with one pack, see if there's a consistent pack? She said, no, I want a case. She said literally when she used because we gave her about 4 samples, so she was able to see is there a noticeable trend? Like, is this really healing it? Is it not healing it? And she literally just like started like, no, I want a whole case of them, right? And literally the good thing is the client, the patient, they went from staying up all night to getting a full night's sleep. So and she said that she only had to make 1 change the whole night. So she went from making 4 to 5 changes all night, right? Staying up all night to he was able to get a full night's sleep without any interruptions. So that kind of on the boots on the ground, face-to-face encounters, actual feedback is like, wow, and this is consistent. So yeah, I can go on and on.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's a lot, Silas. All good stuff, and kudos to you. I can see your big, smile coming out. One of the things that Susie, I had mentioned this offline, but I'll share with viewers, for a younger person coming into the industry, your commitment to care and caring for people is impressive. I know Susie has shared that with me. How does, you had mentioned that you graduated from school and that your family had this business. How do you bridge the gap, so to speak, from an older adult population that may come into your store with starting conversations with them about incontinence and having it feel comfortable or an understanding about it, because you do a great job in that arena, but typically there's going to be lots of years in between. So how do you develop that sense of trust that you have such a good skill set to do that?
Yeah, so I would contribute it to like because I have a background in like athletics, playing basketball. And while I was in college, I was, playing basketball and also, working at the company in and out when we would come back from school and everything. So I had that communication already, so like, when you're playing on a team, right? And, for me, I was a point guard, shooting guard. So a lot of communication, had to be vocal. You had to communicate all the time. You had to be able to rally, you had to communicate with different people, different personalities and everything like that. So I think having that immersive background is what helped me be able to communicate to whoever, right? So, and I always kind of just read like, for example, there's times where they don't really want to have that conversation, which is cool. So I say, look, what are you really looking for in this, right? So I kind of just say, instead of kind of just push it, right? Because they may not want to have that conversation. I always say, okay, what are you really trying to accomplish, right? Like, what is the solution? What are you really looking for, right? And then that's when they start opening up, right? And I kind of give it to where the way I do it is, I know a lot of times people may just try to sell them the product, right? Like, oh, just let me just put all this stuff on you, right? So the way I do, I say, look, you make the decision. What is it that you're looking for? And I'm going to lay out all the options, right? So that way, okay, look, this is what's on the table, right? Like, this is all the things that you can use. Now you decide what you want to go with, right? And because ultimately it's the person's decision because it's what they want, right? So I always kind of think about like that. Okay, well, what is it that they're looking for? My job is just to lay out all the options, and then it's up to them what they go for.
I think that's a great point that you made. I think people want choice. And so kudos to you for, it sounds like you educate, they trust you, and you're providing them choice. And that leads to, I'm sure, more than you'd mentioned hospital beds and the other equipment that you offer. I'm sure that's across the board. So yeah, kudos.
Yes.
I'm thinking of a situation, Silas, where I was in your store and you had customers coming in to buy a scooter. And they had their mind set on something they had seen in an ad or TV. And you are a spectacular listener. which I was impressed with. And at the same time, you asked a lot of questions. And here they marched in ready to drop what, $400 or $500 or whatever it cost on a scooter they saw an ad about, but they knew nothing about the product. And here you took the time to educate them, and then you were asking questions about the cognitive abilities of the person that was going to be riding the scooter.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow. And it's not that you were trying to dissuade them from making a purchase, but you were wanting them to see that perhaps the ad that they saw was featuring a product that wasn't going to be the safest product for the person with cognitive challenges. And I thought that was admirable to me, because you weren't there to make the biggest sale. You were there to provide them with the best solution.
Yes, yeah, and that, yeah, thank you for that, right? And you know, and once again, because I always think about like these products, right? You know, people are, it's almost like a car, right? Like, you know, we always tell people, even when it comes down to like, you know, getting things online, and like, I love online sales, you know, but what I'm noticing though is just based on the customer's experience, when it comes to these DME items, it's like buying a car. And even though it's like, oh, well, this is a hospital bed, this is incontinence, why it's not on the same category, but in the way it is, because we're talking about comfort. How does it feel? You know, all these different things. So we start getting into those type of things. You really want to kind of ask those extra questions. And so another thing too, like even for going back to what you were saying about the scooters, right? Like that's a huge thing, right? Like, you know, I always say, okay, well, we're always thinking safety number one, right? Is the person going to be in full control of this thing? Are you going to be driving this thing, or this thing going to be driving you, type thing, right? And we always want to avoid that, because I've had people come in and say, look, you know, my mom was using a rollator, and the rollator got away from it, and then she fell flat on her face, right? And then the daughter was traumatized when she came into the store. So I thought, oh man, you know, but then I always ask the question in my mind is like, well, did the person who gave this to you, or did you know, were you asked those kind of questions, like what's her mobility with this market? Because, you know, a lot of times with rollator walkers and stuff, you know, just not get too far deep in it, but it's in motion, right? It has 4 wheels, so a person has to be able to keep up with it still. So, and all the products out here, they all have, once again, you know, like you're saying, like they all have, they're used for different types of situations, right? You know, they have advantages and they have disadvantages, and they always look at, okay, well, based on your specific situation and what's going on with the person who's going to use it, is this going to be a net positive, or is this going to be a net negative? And it's not just saying that the product is bad. It's not to say, you're just saying that, look, okay, well, based on based on the specs and features of what this particular product is doing, this other product will be better as far as safety goes, right? Even though it may not be what you want, but it's like, okay, well, are we going to, but we have to still think about the safety part, because the worst thing that happened is what I was just saying in that little story is there's an accident, they fall, and now they will never want to use that same product again. Now they're just want to totally immobilize the person. So she ended up getting a transport chair, when it's like, okay, well, she could have got something else just to like keep her independence, but because of that traumatization of the situation, she was like, oh no, I don't want, you know, I don't even want to open the door to something like that again. So yes, that's why our first thing is really just doing the education, because we know that if people knew what this stuff, you know, what they were getting themselves into, what these products are doing, I think that people are actually they'll make a more enforceable decision, and then it will help them pay dividends in the future to avoid those situations of falls and things of that nature. So yeah, it's that's our main thing is, you know, really education first, and then getting into the product.
Yeah, makes sense. I feel sometimes like it's literally in this industry as a whole, to your point, informed decisions have better outcomes. They, in my opinion, they just do.
Yeah.
But it's one, you know, one customer in your store. It's one for us in our world. It's one Seni customer. It seems like it's one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. But if it's your mom or your dad or your spouse or your relative, it makes such a difference when we're taking the time to educate and inform for a better outcome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think too, because like all of it's like, oh, well, that happened to that person, but that won't never happen to me. So we all kind of all have that cognitive dissonance thing where, oh, well, that happened to them over there, but that will never happen to me, right? But unfortunately, we hear this all the time, right? And then unfortunately, there's situations where, oh, it actually did happen to me, or it happened to someone real close to me that I really care about. So now now it has this huge effect, right? So and this, I just think that's the human nature, right? It's not nothing bad about it. It's just, I just think that everyone's having their different, their own experiences, and this kind of is going based off that.
Yeah, so true, so true. And where is your geographical reach? For as far as where you're located, I'm just curious, people from what areas would come into your store?
So I would say of course, in Torrance, all of Torrance, Gardena, the city of Compton, that surrounding area. Yeah, Gardena, Torrance, Palos Verdes. We have a lot of customers coming from Palos Verdes, from the Hill. We also had people, Culver City, Redondo Beach, like the city of Redondo Beach, Hermosa. So I'll say pretty much all the South Bay. We've had people come from Hollywood, the city of Hollywood. That's further out. But there has been times where people have told me, on the phone, I can't find anybody, so I'm just gonna drive I know I'm in Hollywood, but I'm just gonna drive to you because I can't find anyone else, or I've talked to 10 different people and no one seems to answer my question but you guys, so let me just go here. So we've had that, but mostly it's Torrance, Palos Verdes, Gardena, Redondo Beach, Hermosa, and Manhattan Beach. And then Compton also is another major reach.
Fantastic. You bring up one other really, really good point is I do think people will travel when they have a trusted advisor, because I think in healthcare in general, when you need supplies, regardless if it's the hospital bed, the scooter, or the Seni incontinence products, people will travel when they have trust and faith. I know I do it. So kudos.
Yeah. I was just going to ask if you could share one short story with us in closing.
Yeah, so I'll basically show you guys another story. This was a recent story that just happened. So a guy, he was in San Francisco. His mom is out here in like Torrance, right? But he lives in San Francisco, right? So he flew from San Francisco because his mom was having issues with incontinence, and his brother, who lives down here, because he lives in San Francisco, but his brother lives like closer to his mom. But unfortunately, there's some things going on, like that his brother said, I just can't handle the incontinence, helping on the incontinence, like, because he just can't, he just can't bring himself to, it just like a lot of traumatic things going on, and which is very understandable, right? It's not that it's just that he just can't do it mentally. The trauma is just too much. So unfortunately, the brother who lives in San Francisco, he flew from San Francisco down here to Torrance to help his mom. And the main issue was the incontinence. And he basically, he went to 5 different stores before he went to us, right? And he's been trying to find like some quality incontinence products. He went to another place, but he had got other products, but we had kind of, when he came, we had told him everything. And just to make it short, so when he came in, right, he had he asked about the other brands, but I said, we don't carry any other brand but this brand. And the reason why is because hands down, it's night and day. But you just try it. Just try it and see how, just let us know. So I gave him the samples as usual. I gave him the samples. I gave him like 2 or 3 samples just to kind of see, if there was a pattern. I kid you not, the next day, he calls the next day and says, I want a case of them. I want a case. I was like, wait a minute. You sure you want a case? I mean, we have actual packs right here. He said, no, I want a case. He said, oh my goodness. It was like, and I couldn't believe this over the phone. And this was recent. This was in November. So this past November. He was so like it was like like the sky opened for him. Like that's how big he sounded on the phone. Like, I cannot believe I found the perfect product. He told me that she went from leakage, like complete leakage, everything going through, to zero leakage.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words, honestly, and
Silas,
the
we
testimonial.
appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, like if you come to CFS Medical Supplies, what you're going to see is Seni. When it comes to incontinence, all you're going to see is Seni. Because, I mean, if you have something that's, I mean, I always tell people just start with a sample. You know, we don't start, sell it to them. We start, here, try a couple samples, see how it works, let us know. And then so far, out of like over 100 people, they've came back saying, I just want cases now.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being our guest today, and thank you to our viewers for listening in. We appreciate everybody, and we'll be back next month with another episode. Susie, any parting thoughts, words of wisdom?
No, we just appreciate people like you, Silas, that are out in the community giving folks solutions and education and answers. So thank you for that. Thank you for what you're doing, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.